What I'll go over is by no means all inclusive. It's just some of the things that I see a lot as I work with presenter PowerPoints. So I thought just going over a few things would get us started thinking about when you design a PowerPoint for your presentation. So we'll be specifically talking about accessibility in PowerPoints around screen readers. So estimated 20% of the population worldwide uses a screen reader. And so when we make our presentations more inclusive by paying attention to these accessibility standards, if we fail to do that, many people are left out. And so taking these into consideration prior to composing your presentation, it's going to be your best use of time and energy, because having to work backwards, like having your deck and not thinking about this and then having to work backwards, it's extremely time consuming. So let's start with that.
And Jennifer speaks from experience, because I've asked her to do that more than once. What does it take? And, and she's confirmed the results are in. It's not worth it. It takes too much time to go backwards.
And we do have resources at the end. I have a slide with links to resources that you can use before you start to dig into designing your presentation. All right. So what does accessibility look like in presentations? These are just some of the items that you'll want to pay attention to as you're designing your presentation, like proper formatting of the text, creating alternative text for any graphics, using actual data tables instead of pictures of data tables, using descriptive naming conventions for your slide headers, organizing your slides with headers as well. And then of course, using captions when possible. So using the accessibility check in PowerPoint is going to be very helpful. Let's look at a few examples. Those of you who already use the accessibility check in PowerPoint will see a lot of familiar images here. This is the first one that we'll go over. Contrast, so text that's difficult to read. When you have not enough contrast between a background color and the text, those colors are too similar, and the screen reader can't necessarily read it. It's going to be flagged in an accessibility check because of that contrast. So a solution is to just change one of the colors, change the color of the background or change the color of your text. And in the accessibility check in PowerPoint, this is exactly what it will give you. It'll tell you why to fix it, and then it will give you the steps to fix it right on screen. When you use graphics, you will be asked to use alternative text. So a screen reader can't, when there is alternative text included, a screen reader can actually read that. So it would be able to read a person holding flowers. Of course, you can get as detailed as you want with your image, be it a picture of a graph or a picture of a person, etc. But if it's decorative, you can just mark it as decorative and be done with it. That's absolutely fine if it's just an arrow or something. The recommendation is 1 to 2 detailed sentences, but this is up to you how you would like to essentially have the person using a screen reader hear what is on screen. And again, the prompts in the accessibility check in PowerPoint will walk you through how to fix it right there. Data tables versus screenshots of data tables. So a lot of us rely on data tables that we find in other publications, and we add those to PowerPoint presentations, and screen readers are just interpreting it as a picture. So it will need alternative text added to it. But a best practice would instead to be just include the actual data table, because the screen reader can then read through the text included in the data table. It's not always going to be an option, right? We don't always have access to those original data tables. So just remember, if you do use a screenshot of a data table, go ahead and have that alternative text connected to it. So these are just reminders and resources. A reminder that screen readers differ, and so can the actual user behavior of the people using the screen readers. So as you plan your presentations, just make sure to conduct an accessibility check and keep your resources in mind. And I've provided a few here. We will have in the presenter guide, we will have links so that you can utilize that. Tips for making accessible PowerPoint slide decks. I know Kent has shared that. I think it's on the center SharePoint already. If not, you now have it in this deck. PowerPoint, if you don't already have the accessibility checker in your PowerPoint ribbon, this is a link that will walk you through how to add it. And then, of course, the 508 language, which is on the web. And then what I thought was very helpful was seeing a video of a screen reader at work. So a person actually using a screen reader. It was just really helpful to see. Oops, those are Lucille's next steps, not mine. Does anybody have any questions about this? Like I said, not all inclusive. Of course, I've left some things out. These were just some things that we often see.
Jennifer, my only comment is your comment about text and color contrast.
Mm-hmm.
Will tell you on your computer screen that that's contrast. That doesn't mean that that's what the LCD shows.
Yeah,
because many times your LCDs are not at all the same colors that you see. So be prepared to look at it that way.
Yeah, great point.